everybody's settling down back there that needs a chair, we will get this thing underway right away. I'm John Coffey, and I've been with this place for a long time. And recently, Glenn True bought the business, and it's now Coffey Sound, a true audio company. And as we like to say, it's double the horsepower. Anyways, I want to introduce Glenn True. And for the first time, this might be some of you meeting him.
Thank you. Yeah, so hi. Thanks for getting up this early. This is actually the first public event that Coffey Sound has had as a true audio company. So I want to say publicly, thanks very much for the very warm and encouraging welcome to LA. It's been overwhelming, and it makes it easier, and it feels really good. So thanks very much. So today we're honored to have a special guest that a lot of people already know here. It's Glenn Sanders from Zaxcom. And I want to point out that Glenn Sanders, for the last 10 or more years, literally changed the way that we work as professional sound mixers. He changed the industry, pioneering the nonlinear file-based recorders. And so not only did he start the charge, he continues to lead it with the Nomad mixer recorder that we'll see here in a minute. And the Nomad's been out in shipping for several months now. And we did a presentation in Nashville that's online. A lot of people have seen that. So we decided to make it a little bit more advanced even than that, to show you some things that you haven't seen before. So Glenn has put together an all-digital sound bag, which, like most things that Glenn Sanders comes out with, I've got to pause and think about before it starts to make sense. And sometimes it takes me several months. But inevitably, it always has. So the more I thought about the digital sound bag and watched how it's connected and saw its abilities, the more I liked it, and I think it is definitely the future that we're going to be dealing with in the not-too-distant future. So without further ado, I give you Glenn Sanders.
Thank you, Glenn. Good morning, everyone. I am just making sure that we are set to do what we need to do, which we certainly seem to be. I'm going to distribute some transmitters here to some lucky guests. Of course, they will be giving them back. So, actually, John, you're a good man. And let's see, where's Mr. True? There you go. Duh. Have a mic. So, as the sponsors of this event, along with Zaxcom, I think that they should certainly be involved here. So let's get the show on the road here. And
excuse me 1 second. I understand you have a clothing whistle.
Yes. Well.
Break. Let me tell you that we're going to give away 3 ERXs at the end of the demo today. And excuse me.
Winner be present to win.
Yes.
He's also putting on a barbecue at the end of this also, so you guys can eat fast on your way out.
It's our intention to keep your ass in that seat as long as possible. Okay?
So there's only 3 people left, and then they win.
Right. It's sort of like musical chairs to a certain extent. So, okay. We're gonna be good here. Okay. So if I could have the mix of the recorder. Okay. And Glenn, you're on mic.
1 2 1 2. Check 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 check.
A little more.
1 2. Hello. 1
John, you on mic there?
Supercalifragilistic.
Okay. Well, so we're here to talk about quite a few things. We're here to talk about Nomad. We're here to talk about wireless. We're here to talk about the digital sound bag. Okay. This system is really unique. There's no other way to do what we're doing other than with the equipment that we sell and put together. If you look at recorders and you look at mixers and you look at wireless and IFB, those things, really? From Boston? Okay. I'm a draw. He's not here for CAS, I'm sure. Good morning, John. Good morning. So, everything we do is systemized, okay? Meaning that the recorder works with the wireless system, works with the IFB system, works with time code, okay? There's a lot of things that you would need in a sound bag to do a job. You would need to, certainly mix, record, transmit IFB, distribute time code to cameras, monitor from cameras. There's a lot of things going on, and as a result, your sound bags get really big and really heavy and draw a lot of power, and this fixes all those things. So, just to give you a little bit of a taste of what we're doing, for instance, I don't know who's got which mic out there because I didn't pay attention.
1, 2.
But if I wanted to, let's say, take one of the 2 transmitters that are out there and I want to turn the gain up, I'm going to turn the gain up on one of those. So so who's that? Glenn? Is that you?
This is me right here. 1, 2. Testing 1, 2.
I'm going to turn you down.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm
Okay.
going down.
So I'm actually adjusting the gain inside Glenn's transmitter. And maybe if I want to hear more of John,
Hello,
I'll turn John up.
This is John. Hello, hello, hello.
There you go.
And I sound like the voice of God. That's
Yes.
not me.
So I'm not adjusting anything here. I'm adjusting his mic preamp. And I can do that from hundreds of feet away. Okay? Now, all of our transmitters record. So all those transmitters provide a full backup of everything that we're doing here. So I'm going to put my Nomad into record. And by putting Nomad in record, my body pack, John's body pack, and Glenn with 1N's body pack, they're in record, okay? So, hey, John?
I'm right here.
Okay, and Glenn,
He had to step
Glenn,
out.
you're there?
I'm on mine over here. Right.
Okay, cool. So we're recording, and everything's sounding really good. But let me stop the recording. Okay? Now, let's, for argument's sake, say that we had dropouts, or we had interference, or we didn't go into record at all. What we can do is, through the Zaxnet system, come in and audition or replay the audio into record. And by putting Nomad in record, my body pack, John's body pack, and Glenn with 1N's body pack, they're in record, okay? So, hey, John?
I'm right here.
Okay, and Glenn,
He had to step
Glenn, you're
out.
there?
I'm on mine over here. Right.
Okay, cool. So we're recording, and everything's sounding really good. But let me stop. Okay, what you just heard was this system doing the coolest thing on the planet. Okay, my body pack, Glenn's body pack, and John's body pack stopped recording. I asked them to queue up and synchronize and replay. Okay, so I then could re-record here that whole exchange, that whole scene, as if it was happening for the first time. So from the sound bag, you now have the capability to re-record and remix, okay? Thereby eliminating any possibility that some dropout or some interference is going to have an audio loss, okay? In these times, which are going to get worse when it comes to white space interference, this capability can save your butt. And also what it does is it takes the mix and puts it on the same memory card that you're sending to post-production. You may even say, I don't like the mix that I did. I want to redo it. So you can use your wireless virtual multi-track recording system, that's what it says on the patent, okay, to replay the audio and remix the audio, okay? Another thing, if I can move on, by the way, you can probably all go now because that was the best thing I got. No, there's more, yet there's more. Okay, so another feature that we have invented is something called power roll, okay, that this system does. Each one of these transmitters right now is either putting, I think I turned them down to 25 milliwatts because we're in a small room, I don't need any more, okay? So they're putting out 25 milliwatts, but you know what, you're out on location, you're doing your thing. Well, 25 or 50 milliwatts is more than enough for you to, know that you've got your audio there, everything's doing fine. I mean, many of you in this room use Zaxcom wireless with 50 milliwatts, and it works out very, very nicely. What this does is when I go into record, okay, on Nomad, through our Zaxnet system, it bumps all the transmitters up to 125 milliwatts, okay? What this does, especially on the smaller transmitters that only have a single AA, it extends the battery life. So a AA with a lithium battery, it's called TRX900 LT, with a lithium battery. Glenn, can I have your transmitter? Thank you. Thank you. So this is the LT, and as I said, it's a very small transmitter, runs on a single battery. Using Power Roll, you can run 125 milliwatts and have this last 4 to 4.5 hours. If you were to run it constantly at 125 milliwatts, which you can, you'd be around the 2.5 to 3 hour range. So it saves the battery, and the thing runs very cool, okay? So you don't have a heat problem with the actors because you're trying to pump out, a quarter watt and making the transmitter really hot and running the battery down. So it's a really, really cool, cool thing to do. We also have a new transmitter. I'm going to shut this guy down. We have a new transmitter, just to go over transmitters for a moment, because I do want to get back to the bag. But we have a new transmitter called TRX900 LA. Okay, LA could be for Los Angeles. Who knows? So it's just for you guys. Don't believe it. It's for everybody. Actually, this transmitter is in use in every NFL game. Okay, the NFL players wear our transmitter for 2 reasons, or actually like 3 reasons. It's stereo, so they have 2 mics on the players. It's rugged, so it survives the game. And the thing puts out 125 milliwatts for 7 hours. Okay? And they can remote control it. So if someone's out on the field, then they're able to, just, control the gain, shut the things off before the game or after the game. So it's a really neat thing that they can remote control the transmitters. And of course, the encryption is a major deal. All of our wireless is encrypted, which is not that big a deal at the moment, but the next time that there's some paparazzi that intercepts audio and it ends up on YouTube or wherever it's going to go, much in the line of the Christian Bale thing, it's going to be an issue at some point. So you can't intercept this audio. It is all encrypted. So let me get back to the bag situation, if I may. But actually, just let me say, this is a new product. It's shipping now. And I think probably it's, for a lot of reasons, it's the best transmitter we ever put out. Go ahead.
Does it use 2 batteries?
It does use 2 AA's, that's right. And it's only slightly bigger than the LT, which runs on 1 battery. You can see it's very, very much the same, just a little bit longer case. So everything will be up here later for everyone to come up and take a look. But let's talk about the digital sound bag, because digital sound bag is really cool for a lot of reasons. Okay? First of all, the audio that you've been listening to is going through the bag. Okay? So Nomad has been performing the mix. What I have here are 2 QRX receivers. QRX receivers can receive 2 separate transmitters each. Okay? It can output those transmitters to through AES or through analog. Okay? I gotta stop saying okay. You ever watch yourself do something and then later you said, "Why did I do that?" Okay? Every time I say okay, I want everyone to yell real loud because I got to stop. So you're going to be part of this.
Okay.
Excellent. I'll just change to excellent. That's all. I almost did it. All right. So I'm outputting AES audio. Okay, I did it. I'm outputting AES audio to the Nomad. By doing that, I eliminate problems that are inherent in analog audio going through a bag. You have ground loops, and more importantly, you have audio mismatches. With audio mismatches, what you're doing is you are taking the dynamic range that you have with a wireless microphone or a wired microphone, and you are limiting that dynamic range. Because an analog input, which is something that's going into an A to D converter, might have anywhere from 110 to 120 dB of dynamic range. If you have a mismatch between an analog output and an analog input, you are limiting that dynamic range. So if you have a dynamic range mismatch on the input of the device, on the output of the device, you could be giving away 10, 20 dB of dynamic range. The net result of that is that when you get to post-production, okay, I did it, and I know I did it. When you get to post-production, they are going to look at that audio and they may say, hey, you know, the noise floor is a little high on this. Why is it? Now, to you, you're listening through your headphones, and it sounded perfect to you. Okay? Did it.
Okay.
Thank you. See? You're going to break me, and it's a good thing. So when it gets to post-production, there's a problem. Okay? With this system, you don't have that issue. What I have happening here is the digital connection of AES from the receivers to the Nomad. This is good for another reason, because XLRs and cables have weight. No one wants their bag to weigh an ounce more than it needs to weigh. Okay?
Okay.
After the next 10 times, we're going to stop that. No, it's a good thing. On the output side of this, the audio from Nomad is going to our stereo transmitter, which is here on the side of the bag. The stereo transmitter has a new input module called an STA-042, which stands for AES-42. In this case, the digital out of Nomad feeds the link. The link is a digital link, so the audio makes it to our receiver that goes on the camera, okay, and it's all, I didn't say it. You're messing with me. So the link goes to the camera digitally. Every part of this process is digital. From the time my body pack, which has an A to D converter in it, converts my analog audio to digital, it is transmitted to the receiver digitally, it goes into the mixer digitally, it's processed digitally, and then it is output through AES to the link, which transmits it to the camera digitally. You have the full dynamic range, and you have no possibility of any type of level mismatch. So the audio that gets to the camera is as perfect as the dynamic range of the transmitter that started with it. And this takes a lot of the problems out of you doing field audio. Okay? I did it.
Okay.
Thank you. So, the point is that there's a lot of advantages to being full digital, whether it be cables that have connectors that, when they move around, they can introduce noise into the audio. That's not a problem in a digital system. Inputs and outputs being perfect, meaning that the AES is not subject to distortion of going into an analog to digital converter, going from into a D to A. It's a much, much cleaner way to go. And again, as far as your back goes, it's going to weigh less, which is obviously an important thing. The bag that you see here is capable of receiving 4 separate transmitters in mono or stereo. And the mixer, the Nomad in this case, can mix up to 12 channels of audio. This happens to, I believe, be a Nomad 6 set up in the bag here, but it does have 10 analog inputs, and you can mix together all 10 tracks on what you see here. There's actually 6 hardware faders, which you can assign as masters or just individual channels. You could also make them input trims if you want to, but you can also mix 4 return inputs over here simply by clicking on it and operating 4 virtual faders. So again, this is a very lightweight solution to mixing and recording, and again, it's up to 10 analog tracks. In our Nomad 6, 8, and 12, you actually have 8 AES inputs as well, and you can really mix together, I believe it's either 14 or 16 channels simultaneously. So please do not underestimate the size of the mixer that you have here. It may be physically not very big, but it is very, very powerful. It's the most powerful mixer you can use in a sound bag. I'll wait for the police to go. Wouldn't want them stopping here. Not committing any crimes yet. See how good that sounds? That's digital.
Those are all digits.
They're digits. There you go. Not bad. Boom, boom. Live from Boston, John Garrett. He made it funny. Okay. Here's another goodie. I don't know how many of you have seen the timecode slate, but you might say, okay, so I can show that to a camera person. They can shoot the slate, and you don't need an external slate. Okay. Thank you. I missed that one. So on a production, you're able to have that slate and save having the external slate. I mean, I don't think this is going to work for big budget TV film, but for the smaller DSLR shoots, I think it's a really neat thing. You may notice it's upside down, and that's so that when you're wearing it, you can just tilt it out because they're going to shoot it upside down. This way you don't have to take it off. So another neat feature of Nomad. Let's talk about the inputs for a moment. Nomad's inputs have what we call never clip. Never clip is really cool. Imagine, if you will, that you're out there, you're recording, a show where someone's going to be whispering and screaming, or you're going to do something with gunshots, or you're going to have very high SPL. When you have that, you often have either clipping or limiting. Okay, I did it. Clipping and limiting are all forms of distortion. It's just a matter of how much distortion you're going to live with. With this, you can use NeverClip to your advantage because the input with 137 dB of dynamic range just can't clip. Your microphone is going to clip before the input of Nomad clips. And this is tied into the fact that there are no input trim pots on this device. And this is a very big departure from the way you have been taught to mix and that you have mixed. Because if your input clips, you're done. You're in trouble. Okay? So you might turn on an input limiter. Well, an input limiter is going to distort the signal to fit into the dynamic range required by that mixer or recorder. We felt there was a better way. We invented NeverClip, and to do it, instead of one A to D converter on an input, we have 2 A to D converters. One of them is before the mic preamp, and one is thereafter. The DSP, digital signal processor, inside the Nomad takes those 2 signals and arbitrates between them using the best one that it sees for the audio that's being input in order to give you this 137 dB of dynamic range. And the system works absolutely flawlessly. It's always engaged because there's no reason not to have it there. It is a really great way to ensure that all you have to do is just turn down the input or turn down the fader of Nomad, and it will give you an output that is not clipped and absolutely flawless without any type of limiter or compressor action. Now, of course, if you want an input compressor, you can absolutely turn one on. We give you not only the metering for every input, which is a cool thing, but we also give you output metering, and we give you gain reduction indication within the meter. So on every input and every output bus, if you're hitting that limiter, you're going to see these little white bars start to come down from the top. So as the meter goes up, as you go up like this, you'll start to see this happening to show you that you are, in fact, limiting. If you want to use the input compressors / limiters, absolutely, if that's what you want to do. Often someone will use a compressor because they feel artistically that's the kind of sound that they want. But with Nomad, you absolutely don't need input limiters. All you have to do is turn down the fader, and away you go. We also give you an input trim control that is unique in that. Actually, can I have my mix here? 1, 2, 2. Hello, check. 1, 2. Is that me? That's me? No, I don't think that's me. I don't think that's me.
Maybe it's me. Hello?
Hello.
Check. 1, 2.
No. 1, 2. Well, now I'm not there. I am there. Yeah, okay. That's what happens when you try to do something like this. 1, 2. 1, 2, 2, 2. And absolutely it's there. 5, 5, 4. 1, 2. Okay. All right, well, let's have me back.
Hello?
Okay, fair enough. We'll sort that out. Okay. Train of thought. Where was I?
Input trims.
Thank you. Input trims, auto trim. With auto trim, the last fader that I adjust, and we have this right here, this is actually my input trim control for my channel, 1, 2, 3, 4. As you see, there you go. Now I've got me. Thank you very much. So I am trimming my channel because this is the last channel that I adjusted. If I adjust this channel over here, then I'm adjusting the input trim for this channel. And there's a blue LED showing me, okay, which pot the auto trim is actually working on. So if you want to ride your input trims, you can easily do that simply by whichever fader you touched last. Then you would have the input trim for that, at your fingertips. So, of course, if you're using other mixers or other recorders, you've got push-in, push-out trim pots, which frankly are annoying because you have to push them in, you have to push them out, you have to worry about which one that you're going to grab. With this, there's a light, it's obvious, and you don't have a mixer that's cluttered up by these input trims. So it's a really nice way to go. On the topic of what's not on the faceplate of this, you may notice there's no pan switches or pan pots. These things are not necessary at all because all we have to do is go to the menu that has the pans on it, and it's very easy from the home menu to simply select a channel that you're going to feed left, right, or center, and I can just go in and quickly adjust each channel to feed wherever I want. Even better than that, this has 6 output buses. And with 6 buses, I'm able to, through this menu, assign each channel, left, right, or center, to each of the 3 pairs of output buses with a single knob press. Imagine, if you will, if you were to have hardware switches for this thing, you would literally have 30 switches on the front of this thing. And that alone would make it too big and cumbersome to use. So with this system, it's really quick to do the routing if you're working in like a 2-channel ENG EFP configuration. So it's a really neat way to go. And I didn't say okay. Bus-wise, if you want to go into the bus selection, you've got bus routing just like on the Diva. You've got inputs to outputs. You can route them pre-fader, post-fader, phase inverted. You can make MS-style mixes. It's really quite powerful in its ability to mix. Now, let's talk about why we're mixing. Let's talk about IFB, if I may. We'll switch gears a little bit here. I have two receivers here, and let's just put one on. And here we go. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give one over here, and you have to pass it to your neighbor, and the last guy gives it back. We raffle off the other ones later. But what I have here, this is our Zaxnet system for IFB. What you're listening to is the IFB transmitter inside of Nomad. And this goes back to the digital sound bag. From inside Nomad, we are taking the selection of what's feeding actually our tape output, and it's being routed digitally to the IFB transmitter. And that IFB transmitter is transmitting it from Nomad directly. So you eliminate the need for a separate IFB transmitter. The range of this is roughly 100 feet, give or take. If you want greater range, it's very simple to add a directional antenna, add an amplifier. But in a sound bag situation where you're going to go out and you're going to do some interview in a room maybe this size, maybe 4 times as big, this is going to be great. 2.4 gigs works very nicely indoors because it bounces around a lot. You get really nice range. Doesn't go through brick walls all that great. Okay? I did it. I'm keeping count. It doesn't go through brick walls all that well, meaning that if you expect to go through several brick walls and the floor of a building, it's not going to do that. Within the realm of the typical type of work you do, this will work fantastic. And it is the best sounding IFB anywhere. While you have Comtex, you have Electro IFBs, if you A-B the sound of this to the FM systems, there's really no comparison in how this sounds. It's noise-free, and it works great. These receivers happen to be quadversity. There's 2 actual receivers in them, and each receiver has antenna switching. So there's 4 antennas in there, so it's a very solid link.
So the antenna's not in the
No.
headphone cable?
No, the antenna is within the body of the unit. Let me talk about the ERX, the IFB system, while we're passing it around, because it's a pretty unique deal. These packs, the ERXs, do 2 things. They're either just IFB receivers or they're IFB receivers with timecode output. You'll notice that the timecode is on the display. So you can give it to a script supervisor, and they can not only listen, but they know what the code is, and they're able to stop the code from running so they can do their scripty stuff. So that's a big advantage for them. If you take that unit and you get the what we call ERX1 TCD, which is timecode and delay, it will output timecode. So if you're doing like a multi-camera shoot with a 5D or other smaller camera, this is all you need on that camera to put scratch track down and timecode. The unit is very small, very lightweight, and it runs for 14 hours on 2 AA alkaline batteries. So for the guys who are running around with the really small light cameras, it's a total audio solution. Because the last thing that anyone needs to do is to put audio, production audio on a 5D camera, or literally on any camera. As we all know, camera audio tends to be very limited. Let's put it in proper terms. It sucks. Okay? So, the best audio you're going to put down is going to be on something like a Nomad, where you've got the really good audio processing, really super clean inputs. You've got things like Never Clip. I mean, these are things that camera manufacturers don't care about. All they care about is putting some audio down so that the ENG, EFP people can get it on the news as quickly as possible. But a lot of you people here, that's not what you do. You're recording, film. You're recording movies. You're recording television shows. Thank you, movies. So you're recording to some media. It's not live for broadcast. So you want to get the best audio possible. And needless to say, if the director says, well, I'd like to rehear that last take, the last thing you want to do is say to the camera person, could you play that back for me? I mean, they'll kind of look at you funny like you play it back yourself. So you need to be able to play it back yourself. Mr. True.
Yes, excuse me. Yeah. Listen to the IFB. I realize that I think your microphone is not routed to the IFB input. Because I'm hearing an ambient mic.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, this one.
You're getting a fair listen test.
Okay. Well, thank you for telling me that. Let me just go into bus here and tape IFB out.
While Glenn's doing that,
Out one.
The IFB is actually built into the Nomad. It doesn't require an extra transmitter on the side, and it doesn't use up an extra output.
Can I borrow that? Thanks. Yeah. 1, 2. Yeah, here. 1, 2. Yeah, I'm in there. It's there. I think it's just because this. I think your speakers and this are. Yeah. Okay. 1, 2.
You have another mic running through there also. So it's either that one or.
Well, where's the other?
Somebody else's mic is in there.
Oh, well, I can fix that. Okay. All right. Now I'm the only mic in there. I'm the only one in there.
You are now.
I am. Oh yeah.
I take back everything that
Thomas.
I said. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it.
You thought I would have noticed.
Where's John Coffey's transmitter?
He gave it to me because he walked out.
Oh, well, you give it to me.
Yeah, that's great.
He was in the mix. That's
So
why.
always trust your ears, guys. That's why.
And he was in the men's room.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Well, there'll be no more of that. Okay. All right. So I'm the only mic in the mix. I should have turned down the pots on the other ones, and I didn't. Okay. But now you have me as a singular.
Yes, now it's good.
Okay. There you go. Well, between.
I'm sorry, Glenn, the outputs on the IFB are analog, correct? For time code and.
Oh yes, the output on the ERX is definitely analog. On the ERX, you can plug, just a regular headset in, like you would plug into an iPod. The interesting thing about that receiver is it's exactly the same size as a classic iPod. So you can go to the Apple store or the dollar store, and you can literally buy really nice cases for $5. So
Stereo or?
it's mono. It's mono for audio, and you can put time code out on either the left or the right side, or both, if you want to do that. So, it's really great for the fact that it's double duty. If you're going to go do a shoot and they require time code and audio to feed, let's say, 4 or 5D cameras, it's like, hey, here are my ERXs. Let's put them on. Everything's perfectly locked. You're not jamming anything. Everything's really light. That's great. If you're going to do another show where you need 4 or 5, IFB receivers for the director, producer, you've got it. So when you own ERXs, okay, it's the single investment that pays off in multiple ways. Because obviously you're not going to take a Comtech and get time code and audio out of a Comtech. Not that that's a bad product at all, but it's an analog product. It's just an FM receiver. The other cool thing about the ERXs is the ERXs, when you get them as time code TCD, which stands for time code delay, you're able to take that unit and you're able to delay the audio up to 7 frames. Because you may have a director that's watching a monitor, and that monitor is going to be 5, 6 frames out. Then you've got a camera person looking through the eyepiece of a camera, and maybe that's 1 frame out, or it's not out at all. So, when it comes to IFB and distributing audio, one delay does not fit everybody by any means. You're going to put in the delay that's going to please the most important person on the set and piss off everybody else. So in these days of multiple delays on set, this is the only system that addresses that on a person-by-person basis, which is the only way you can do it. It also has the ability to shift the time code individually. So if Video Village needs time code that is a frame or two different than the recorder needs or what have you, you can also shift time code with ERXs as well. So there's a lot of things going on that make the ERX a really cool system.
When the unit goes out of range, what happens with the audio of it? Does it have that digital degeneration thing? Or
Yeah.
does it fade out smoothly?
Well, it tries to fade out as smoothly as it can. But also keep in mind that, again, this ERX has two separate true diversity receivers, and it has 4 antennas. So within a range, of let's say, with just this whip antenna of let's say 100 feet, it's going to be very, very solid. If you're going to be out on a set doing motion picture or a big television show on a sound stage, you're definitely going to want to not use this antenna and have something 10 feet in the air and either have it directional or put an amplifier on it. You can take the range of this and you can actually quadruple it, because you can use a directional antenna that's going to give you 9 dB of forward gain. So if your sound cart is here and the action is over there, and of course the best thing about motion picture or TV production is the actors never act hundreds of feet apart. They're always next to each other. So you can point it at the actors or wherever the director is sitting, whoever needs the IFB, and you can get that doubling of distance. If you use an amplifier, you can get another 9 dB of gain with the amplifier. So you can boost this signal 18 dB in the direction you want to go. The other cool part about that is, since you're on 2.4 gigs, you're focusing that RF, to one spot. So if there is any interaction with other things in 2.4 gigs, they are definitely minimized by using the directional antenna. So, certainly a lot of you use VHF, IFB systems, some UHF IFB systems. We have a lot of people using Zaxcom IFB with very, very good results. And the one thing we haven't done is taking back any systems because they don't work. They do. So, if you want to try a system, you bring it out to set, you try it out, make sure it works okay for you. But I think once you hand the ERX to a director or producer for a day, you're not getting it back. It's that different. Yes?
I want to make sure that you just get a good listening test, and the level is too low.
Oh, okay.
On your mixer.
That's easy. How about that? 1, 2.
Watch the feedback.
Okay.
Gary will adjust that.
Hello, 1, 2, 3. You know what? Oh, I see why. Duh. Sorry. That comes from, how's that? That should be a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
So I'm going to pass these around again and give you guys.
That's because
One microphone.
That's because I'm not listening to what I'm doing, and I turned down the auto trim before. So, yeah.
Also, do you have to hold it in your hand all the time?
No.
Is it a clip?
Oh, no, you use a case. I mean, it fits in Apple iPod cases.
Talk about that too.
Oh, yes. These also will show you the metadata, meaning that when you enter scene and take information into the recorder, they will display the scene and take metadata on the display of the receiver. Yes.
Is that new?
No, it's been there. Yeah. Yeah, that way the script supervisor can just press a button and know, okay, we're on scene, whatever.
She or he can look at their,
Exactly. Yeah.
and say, you got it wrong.
Exactly. We can, yeah, we can send it to the slate as well. Charlie over at Denicky wrote some software so that he can decode the scene and take information that we have coming off of coming off the Zaxnet. Okay, so sorry about that. That's what happens when you talk and you don't listen and you turn knobs. If I had headphones on, I would have known. So.
I was curious, do you have any provisions for in-ear monitoring? So, the director or another actor's cueing another actor on stage that you want to, and how can you mix that with Nomad where you could...
Right. Well, that's a good question because with Nomad, you get to route any card track or any output bus to this or any mix. So if you wanted to have the director cue the actor, all you would have to do is take a receive channel, like maybe the director had a microphone or whatever it was, and you can just send that to one of the ERXs. You could definitely do that. Now keep in mind, this is a single transmitter. And if you want other channels, you can run 36 of our channels together on 2.4 gigs. So, you've got a lot of flexibility, and again, there's no external routing. It's all still in the digital domain.
So you can have, say, program audio of the on-camera talent being cued by the director on another channel. Can you do that simultaneously?
So you want program audio with the director mixed in?
No, not with the director mixed in. Yeah, just the director would be cueing on-camera talent.
Okay.
Or another actor they're playing off of each other.
Right, you can...
And then you have a mix of both of those going to the general populace on a different channel.
You'd have to have a separate IFB transmitter to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, because that would be two different streams being broadcast, which you can do. But, having the IFB transmitter in Nomad is a single transmitter. Okay, so you choose exactly what you want to put out on that IFB, but it's only one stream.
Well,
Yeah.
you can
Yes,
maybe
Jack.
do that because you have two channels, though.
Well, you can...
Possibly one would be, the program audio, the other would be the cue.
Yeah, you just have to have two transmitters to do it.
I think what he's saying is instead of
With the
time
one
code being
transmitter.
broadcast,
I'm sorry?
instead of time code being broadcast.
No, you can't. It's a single channel system.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
you can individually program each receiver so that, like, if you're sending time code, one receiver could have a pair of stereo or mono headphones in it and just get audio. Another one could have a jack in there that's sending audio and sending time code to the other channel.
Yeah.
A different receiver that's on the same
Yeah, I mean-
system, right?
Yeah, on...
Is the time code coming out of is it like basically a stereo? Is it a
It's a stereo jack, and you can tell the receiver to output time code on the left side, the right side, or both.
It is time code as audio, I think is what he's asking.
It's time code as audio.
So what Steve was suggesting is could you end up outputting two different channels, two different
Audio channels.
Yeah.
to one ERX, and one of them would be this cueing an actor, and the other would be programmed. That's
No, I mean, it's one transmitted audio feed, and you have time code writing with it, and that time code writing with it has to be time code. Because the time code is just
It's not two separate, it's not stereo.
it's
audio.
not stereo audio, it's mono audio.
yeah, it's not stereo audio.
Right, okay,
Time code is just more data that says part of this data packet is time code.
that's right.
It's interlaced.
It's audio.
Yes, exactly. Keep in mind also that every ERX has a time code generator in it, so that if it loses the signal, it is going to properly free run and output time code even if it has no signal. So if it went out of range for 5 minutes and then came back in range, when it got back in range, it would just see the code. It would say, okay, well, that's the code I have, and it'll just pick it up. If there was any drift, like let's say it became one frame off, it would resynchronize itself and just immediately go to the correct time code. One frame drift in 5 minutes would be a little extreme. It probably wouldn't be that. But maybe it might be 1 frame per hour on these. But the typical lapse of time code is usually a second or a fraction of a second. So it maintains very good time. The interesting part about this system is, unlike the typical time code lock boxes that you use, that you never have to jam these things. Okay, you switch them on, they're there. So these days of going around jamming things and checking to see if they're jammed, that's over. All you do is switch it on, You get a green light on it, you know, hey, it's got the signal, I'm good. So, and in fact, even if it's not receiving the signal, as long as it did at one point, you're still good. It's kind of like a locket box with a receiver in it, you know, so that it's automatically jamming. So
It takes user bit information and all that
it definitely takes user bit information. And
So
you have
you can either feed it into a time code input on a camera or to an audio.
anything that takes time code, you can put it on, definitely. You can also put it on the back of a slate. So if it's plugged into a slate, then that slate becomes a wireless slate that you never have to jam. And again, with the Denicky slate, once he releases the software, it'll also show the scene intake metadata. When you open it up, it does what it does now. It shows the time code running, you close it, you get the user bits, and then it shows the scene intake as best it can on the slate because they're 8-character things. So anyway, let's move on a little bit because I'd like to talk about something that's really new, well, two really new things here that we've done. Some of you use our stereo links, and that's great. And what we have now done to Zaxcom's transmission, okay, regular wireless transmission from the body packs, is we now include time code embedded with the audio on UHF, meaning that the time code, how'd that walk test go?
George, how do you know? It was getting a little, right when I stepped outside, it was not very good.
It wasn't going through this wall very well.
Right out here was great, but
Okay.
the minute I went to either side, you started to get the digital tone.
Yeah. As I said, 2.4 gigs is not so friendly for walls.
But it's still designed for a certain degree, but you're talking about gigahertz versus.
Oh, yeah, no. It's definitely going to be different than UHF. Definitely.
That's great.
So, okay. All right, so anyway, where were we? Before I... What was I talking about?
Wireless with time code.
Thank you very much. Yes.
So, do we need to coordinate the IP frequencies between the nomad on the table and the one we're passing around? Could that be affecting?
No, they're on the same frequency. You say coordinate.
No, the transmitter, the IP transmitter. We're passing around a nomad. It's just turned on.
Oh, I don't know what frequency it may be broadcasting on, or if it is even broadcasting. If it's broadcasting on the same frequency, like right now, you wouldn't be receiving this. Yeah. So it's probably fine. I didn't stop to think about that, but yeah, that's true. So, okay. So with our UHF transmission, what we're doing is now including the time code in the transmission. So you're not just getting 2 channels of audio going to the receiver on the camera. On UHF, without any other transmitters, you're getting 2 channels of audio and time code. Okay? To receive that, you need the time code option on the QRX receiver. And that time code option includes a time code generator that will free run by itself, but when it receives time code on the UHF side, it will jam its own generator and it will output time code. So with a single receiver, the QRX, which is in the bag here, with the option, you're able to output 2 channels of audio and time code with just 1 box on the camera and 1 transmitter in the sound bag, which would typically be our stereo link. So we never included time code in that transmission before, but now it's there. And there's no compatibility issues with older receivers running older software. It would just ignore that time code as saying, well, I don't understand what that is, so I'll just let it go by. So this is just another great feature that we have put into the digital wireless.
How does it play with the 2.4 gigahertz time code on Zaxnet? They should be the same.
Well, you just choose on the receiver whether you want to receive time code from UHF or if you're receiving
SHF.
Yeah. Okay. Now we also broadcast, as you know, time code on Zaxnet. So since the receivers can choose which one that it's receiving, whichever way you want to do it, you can do it. Timecode on UHF or timecode on 2.4 gigs. The reason that you might want timecode coming on 2.4 gigs is you can actually have, let's say, multiple QRXs on broadcast cameras, and they're all receiving sound from a sound bag, but maybe the timecode that is on one of, let's say, 3 cameras is the master. So that can be broadcasting timecode to the other cameras on 2.4 gigs, on Zaxnet. So you may want to choose whether you're getting timecode on UHF, which would be timecode, let's say, from the sound bag, or you're getting timecode from other cameras. So it's good to be able to choose where your code comes from. So let me talk for a moment about another new feature we have. There's something that we put out there called Slipstream. Okay? When it comes to transmission, a big problem that everyone has is dropouts. Okay? And we're certainly not immune to dropouts. We have more than our fair share. In an effort to try to minimize the dropouts at the range of our coverage, because usually close in, dropouts are pretty non-existent. We have true diversity receivers. Our QRXs actually can either be true diversity or antenna switching diversity. But what we've done with Slipstream is we've included this new modulation, and Slipstream is what we call a time domain diversity system. Okay? In the simplest terms, you can take the transmission, okay, and you can add a lot of redundant data to the point where you've actually got the same audio being broadcast effectively twice. So let's say you have audio that is in this time frame and this time frame, and let's say this represents one video frame, 33 milliseconds. So with Slipstream, if for some reason the RF signal gets stepped on, it gets dropped out, and let's say this one is not received, okay, the receiver can just pull the audio from the second one and say, okay, I've got the audio. So Slipstream introduces a delay to the audio, okay, of one video frame, but that delay is used to make the audio redundant enough so that if you did have a full one frame hit, which is a little zoop or whatever, which is, short hits are very common, that this would not introduce any loss of audio into the system. It's like saying to you that instead of a dual diversity system, Zaxcom Digital Wireless now has a quad diversity system. The penalty for that quad diversity system is one frame of delay. But that's not a penalty, because post-production is delaying your audio anywhere from 1 to 3, 4 frames because of the delay in cameras and the delay in video processing. So on the post side, they're just going to, let's say, instead of introducing 3 frames of delay on average, they might introduce 2 frames so that it would be in perfect sync. So it's not an issue for post, but here in Hollywood, where virtually everything you do is to a camera or in conjunction with picture, this Slipstream will give you just a little extra added protection against dropouts. Now let's keep in mind that if you're using our system, you're recording on the transmitter, so you have that protection as well. So, with us, and I think we can make you a guarantee that you cannot get anywhere else, that if you use the system the way we intended it to be used, you're never going to tell your production, I didn't get it. Okay? When you use FM systems, when you use systems from other manufacturers, you're at the mercy of what's in the air. With Zaxcom, you've always got it on the transmitter, and you have a very, very good chance that you've received it properly, because now each receiver has 4 chances to do it. With slipstream modulation, if something interferes with the signal for 2 seconds, are you going to lose it? Absolutely. You're going to lose it on the receive side, but you're going to have it on the memory cards. And with our Nomad recorder, with our Diva recorder and Fusion recorder as well, you can replay the audio and re-record it and remix it to recapture anything that you might have missed. So, this system is, I think, as bulletproof as you can get when it comes to doing what you guys need to do, which is provide audio tracks that they're going to be able to bring into